Okay, good afternoon, teacher. My name is Mauricio Martinez. For the course project, I choose Room 13, and these are my answers about the questions proposed for this activity. A. Does the story have a theme? What is the story about? What is the central idea? And it is implicit or explicit? Yes, it does. The theme is a ghost of a golden lion in the room 13. The story is about Mr. Anderson, the protagonist, who was writing a book about the history of Denmark. He stayed in a hotel on that town which doesn't have room 13 because most of people don't like this number because they think that is unlikely number. Mr. Anderson is lodged in this hotel in the room 12, and he feels that next to your room, so room 13, happens mysterious things. So he have listened noises, and he have seen a shadow and read things in the room next to him. The central idea of the test is that the author tries to the reader feels anxious for knowing more about the history, and she or he feels afraid about the history for the ghost exposed there and the mystery situation that happens in the hotel. I think there is an explicit thing because a lot of people can feel afraid for reading these texts. B. Who is the protagonist of the story? Try to establish his or her age, family, background, social class, status, and occupation. Okay, Mr. Anderson is the protagonist of the story. I think that he is 30 years old. He is smart and curious. I think that he lives alone because he is a writer and historian. He is a medium class status. I imagine him like a person that enjoys traveling and knowing about the history of the towns and cities around the world. C. What is the problem present in the history? How was the problem solved at the end? Okay, the problem of the story happened in Denmark in an old town, Bitburg. The protagonist, Mr. Anderson, was writing on the history of Denmark. He stayed in a hotel in that town, and in this hotel, the protagonist feels that in that place there are rare situations in the room 13 of the hotel. But the hotel doesn't have room 13. Okay, the other point present in the story is to know what happened with Franken, who is other person on the history. At the end of the story, you can see that the test only refers that Franken was a magician, and maybe he was the ghost in the hotel. D. At what point of this story is the tension highest? And is that the dramatic climax? The highest point of the story is when Mr. Anderson tells to the landlord about the situation that happened in room 13, and the landlord told him that this room doesn't exist in the hotel. So, because the hostesses in room 12 and 14 could observe shadows, they heard noises and moves inside the room in the middle of them, the supposed room 13. So I think that this story has a suspense climax because the author tried to catch the attention of the reader in every page, getting that the reader feels curiosity for knowing more about the story in the round 15. Does the story involve an epiphany or moment of insight, revelation, or self-realization for the protagonist or for the reader? How is the moment present? I think that the story involves epiphany because there is a special situation or topic that outcomes the history. The Room 13 is in the Golden Lion Inn, place in where happens rare and mysterious things. The moment is present as a suspense situation where the reader wants to know what it will happen later, and this may interesting this kind of stories. Okay, this is my video for this afternoon. Thank you very much.